All right, baby. We are live. We are live AF here for a Wednesday edition of the Slate, highest rated edition of the Slate, week in and week out. Jeff Ulrich is here, a Wednesday regular. Gary and Thorne, man who once again stepping up because Nick Fryer is on vacation every other freaking Wednesday.
Yeah.
So it's damn good to have you here. A lot of Canadian flavor, although I know you're a little disgruntled right now because your Canadian baseball team is getting spanked.
By Mexico. Yes.
Mexico, yes.
Tough one, but
Yeah.
we Canadians, we just get back to work, unlike Nick Fryer, always off on vacations and the like. So, Jeff and I'll just come in here and do the damn thing,
Yeah, I mean, Canada's plus 1,400, 7-2 Mexico.
The important thing is I told people to bet Mexico on the sweat this morning, and Steve Buchanan told people to bet on Canada. So that's
shocked.
really what we should take away from this.
Oh, yeah. By the way, did you guys vote in the poll on DK Live in our GOAT March Madness bracket for the GOAT fantasy player, Jeff, Michael Jordan or Wayne Gretzky?
I mean, I'm going to take Wayne Gretzky. I'm sure everyone chose Michael Jordan, though, so I don't think my vote's
No. Not this Canadian basketball fan right here. He was smart enough to take Wayne Gretzky. You had a really good stat, too, where it's like you take out his goals. What was it, Garion?
Well, it's funny because Steve made this joke, but I literally do think they teach this in elementary school in Canada. But if you remove every goal Wayne Gretzky scored, he still leads the NHL in career points.
Yeah.
It's freaking insane.
Yeah. No, Gretzky's prime was ludicrous, especially when you consider we're talking about a fantasy perspective. Yeah. There's players who actually rival Jordan from a stat perspective, obviously the wins and stuff, but no one really does in terms of Gretzky's and his point production. Yeah, so
kind of tough to find someone who rivals Aaron Rodgers in the drama, pay attention to me department. So today, you guys know by now, anyone who has not been paying attention or living under a rock since 1:00 Eastern time, he joined the Pat McAfee show. Bro, there were at one point, I think 700,000 people watching this show on social media. It was insane. The whole world was tuning in to see what Aaron Rodgers would say. And he said he's going to play for the Jets. He intends to play for the Jets because, Gary, and as you and I were talking before Jeff hopped on, it's basically a standoff right now. They're just trying to figure out compensation. Reports are the Packers want 2 firsts. You say there's some reports that they only want 1 first. But what was your one big takeaway from his comments today, Gary?
I guess that we do sort of have a little bit of a definitive answer, at least more of a definitive answer than I was probably expecting from the Pat McAfee show. Look, I think it's been pretty clear from the moves the Jets have made that they were given some sort of nod and wink from Aaron Rodgers in the past 72 hours, indicating that he would like to come to the Jets and that they should build a team that he would like to play in. Because otherwise, some of the free agency conversations they've had don't make a lot of sense. Some of the coaching hires they have had don't make a lot of sense. I still think Nathaniel Hackett as a play caller has been historically terrible in this league. Remember, he was not calling plays when Aaron Rodgers won those MVPs. I don't know, man. This seems like a lot for Aaron Rodgers. He did look better towards the end of last season when that thumb injury was more healed. So it's not like I don't think he is bad suddenly. I think he's still got a lot left in the tank, but I don't know. One of the main reasons that the Jets were such a marquee free agency and trade destination for a franchise quarterback was they had the infrastructure already in place. And now Rodgers is like, nah, man, you got to sign Alan Lazard. You got to bring in freaking Mercedes Lewis. Why are we
Randall
doing
Cobb?
Just
don't
go
sleep
to the
on
Jets.
Randall Cobb.
They haven't signed anyone else other than Lazard yet, right? I missed that.
No, not officially.
Yeah. It's funny because I don't think that the Lazard signing is terrible, but Garion's right. If he's gonna blow up the team with giving Mercedes giving a huge spot to Mercedes Lewis and just having really just anything that involves Randall Cobb, it's really counterproductive. So you need to see how this all shakes out. If it's just Lazard and the payment isn't that big. I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, the Jets this is destroyed. They're mortgaging their future." You're not really mortgaging your future by signing Aaron Rodgers for like a couple years. That's just like you said, the infrastructure is there. They have all the draft. Like you can keep drafting players all you want, but if you can't land a quarterback, and that's been the one position where the Jets have had issues. So, like going free agency, it's not my most ideal situation either. I like what the Panthers have done. I like what the Bengals have done, obviously, but there's only a couple real strong hits every year. This is the other way to do it. The Jets tried it. They tried it with Darnold. They tried it with Wilson. They struck out. Let's try something different. I think that they're in a position where that's fine. I'm not even suggesting that it's necessarily going to work, but it's probably better than another year of, let's see what we have with Wilson, because I don't like giving up on players early, but like I think that ship has sailed. I don't think Zach Wilson is it.
No, so, he ain't it, man.
I really don't think so.
I mean, Jeff, the Jets went 7-10 last year. They may have just been a quarterback away from being a true contender, especially with the defense. It finished 4th in the league in yards and points allowed per game with a group of weapons that included Offensive Rookie of the Year Garrett Wilson at wide receiver.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson's a stud. He's going to be studlier with, Aaron Rodgers. Who have these guys had to work with too? All these young receivers. Elijah Moore could still come up. So, again, we're gonna have to wait and see how it comes. I mean, Al Lazard's fine. As long as he's not out there acting like, like Devontae Adams, and he's getting like 10 targets a game, which I don't think he will. I think he's more of a, an inline guy, used to block a little bit. Will be kind of, maybe a little bit of a secondary receiver over the middle to try and just, make teams, just open up Garrett Wilson a little bit more. That's fine, but. Like he's a good third wheel. Okay. I mean, replacing Alan Lazard with Corey Davis, that's not a big deal. I mean, that's fine, especially if it makes Aaron Rodgers happy and the return isn't big. So the Jets are solid. I do think that the odds right now, a little disrespectful to the Dolphins. I mean, plus 360, like the odds to me are like, if you look at the odds right now, it's kind of saying like, it's like a 50-50 chance Tua plays next year. That's the way I'm looking at the odds, which I don't really think is correct. So I think there's an overreaction in the market, but at the same time, it's not that I'm necessarily hate this move for the Jets. It's just, if I'm looking at the odds right now, like the Dolphins are the play in this division, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. And Gary, and I know that your team, you're a Dolphins fan, picked up to his 5th-year option recently. But I look at it. Do you agree with Jeff there? Is it, and try to, I guess, be a little unbiased? I don't know.
I mean, generally, I'm lower on the Dolphins.
Gary's great at being unbiased.
I know, it's true. It's not like when you talk Jaguars to me.
If it was like Fryer and his favorite basketball team, we'd have a problem, but it's Gary.
I mean, Gary, what do you think? Like with the Jets as short as their AFC East odds are here, how much are the Dolphins being disrespected?
I do think the odds should be closer between these two teams. I mean, like Jeff's saying, I think this is almost... These odds have basically baked in the fact that Tua is going to get hurt at some point, which, you know what, logically, you might have to bank on that at this point, just with his injury history. But that's kind of just the NFL in general. Like you can't bake in injury to NFL odds because it's the NFL. Everyone can get hurt on every single play. I think the Dolphins have gotten better this offseason. I think you can't deny they've gotten better this offseason, specifically on defense. And even if you want to include Vic Fangio into a couple nice signings and obviously the Jalen Ramsey trade, I think they already had such amount of talent on defense that it was odd that they were as bad as they were last season on defense. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement there where I just think their offense is going to be good again if Tua is healthy. So I'm not saying the Dolphins are like a sexy pick to win the Super Bowl, but I do think it's interesting that we are sort of in this golden age of the AFC right now. And while I don't deny that if you're the Jets and you've got skill and talent everywhere, and you have the opportunity to add a quarterback to that, where, as Jeff was saying, you're not really sacrificing much. Like if some of the rumors are to be believed that Aaron Rodgers isn't going to demand 2 first-round picks in a trade, like we've seen with the last couple of like quote unquote franchise quarterbacks being traded, then suddenly you're not even giving up as much as most teams have given up to be put into this position. So you got to go for it if you've got the roster to possibly win a Super Bowl. But are they better than the Bengals? I don't think so. Are they better than the Chiefs? I don't think so. I think they might be better than the Jaguars, but we've talked about this a lot, Emerson. Like the Jaguars are an up and coming team. Like Trevor Lawrence could take another step this year, and that puts them into another stratosphere. I think the Chargers, I know we say this every year in March and February, but I really liked bringing in Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator. Like, I think that has the potential to make them a much better team. And then the Dolphins, I think, have gotten better, and they were a playoff team last season, where if the Jets were like in the NFC, where, you know, I almost have been applauding in a weird way the Giants for like for doing what they've done this offseason, even though it's been a little strange giving Daniel Jones that amount of money. Like, there's really only two really good teams in the NFC right now. So why wouldn't you try to put yourself into that upper tier of NFC teams? I just think it's harder to do that in the AFC right now. Yeah. I'll also say best part of today in terms of the Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers stuff was these like really serious 20 and 30 year NFL reporters having to watch this and report on it. And at one point, I think it was like when it was starting to wrap up, like the relevant stuff, they started asking Aaron Rodgers about what it was like pooping in the dark. And there was just this like grizzled NFL reporter, like New York Jets reporter, who was like, well, they're talking about pooping in the dark now. Like, yeah, that's your life, dude. Like, welcome to the Aaron Rodgers show.
I mean, also, like, side note, it's kind of like where the media is going. And I hope at some point at DK, we use some of our partnerships to bring some guys on who want to just, you know, shoot the you-know-what about whatever and maybe break some news. Like, have fun. Yeah, let's talk about pooping in the dark. I would highly recommend sometimes if it's late at night, you've had a long night, you can't see anything, pee in the dark. Sit down and pee because then you're not going to miss anything. It's not bad. I mean, there's a whole Curb Your Enthusiasm episode like about that, I believe. Jeff, the dude who likes to poop in the dark, at least in his darkness retreats, clearly to me has a big chip on his shoulder. Like listening to Aaron Rodgers, he's obviously ready to move on. He's ready for a new journey here in New York, and he has the Super Bowl on his mind. And you mentioned, Jeff, where they sit, that they are a Super Bowl contender, and where they sit on the DK Sportsbook. Only 5 teams are more likely to win the Super Bowl during the upcoming season than the New York Jets here, man. Are they legit Super Bowl contenders here? Because we know they're going to be a high-profile TV attraction.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't touch them at their odds right now. It's just that you're getting a team, a public market team that's inflated, but Aaron Rodgers is legit, man. I mean, he's one season removed from winning the back-to-back MVP. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a stud, and yeah, like he comes with a lot of baggage, and some people don't like him because of that. But I mean, you can't get over the fact he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. It's the same thing that happened when Tom Brady moved. Like these guys have a lot of they're polarizing, but he's great for a reason, man. So I do think that division I don't want to. I kind of want to say it's wide open. I mean, it could just go so many different ways at this point. I think that the Bills are semi-right to be a little bit of regression. I mean, we've seen from Sean McDermott, troubles game managing a little bit. Mike McDaniel, similar thing, but I think McDaniel's kind of on the verge of figuring it out. They're figuring out their defense, but like the Tua situation could really hurt Miami again. Does the defense take a step up? Do the Bills offense take a step back or something? I mean, these are things that could happen. So the Jets are a team I wouldn't personally be investing in right now, but I still like I like their chances. I mean, it's a really good defense, and they were just basically an efficient quarterback away in my mind from being legit. So I like all 3 of these teams in the NFC East. I really do. I think the one thing I'll say is that I'm going to take as many unders as I can on the Patriots when the win totals come out, because we haven't got to their moves yet, but we will. And I think the Patriots are in for a long, darkness retreat of their own into like 6-win category. So
they could be doing a lot of pooping themselves in the dark.
Yes, lots of pooping going on.
Dude, it's pretty crazy though. Like, sorry, I was just gonna say quickly, like in terms of the Jets odds, because we were talking about this yesterday on this show. Like they were 16-1 yesterday. Yeah. And yesterday everyone thought Aaron Rodgers was going to the Jets. And that number had already clearly baked in the fact that Aaron Rodgers was going to be the starting quarterback for the Jets. And now today, nothing has changed except for the fact that Aaron Rodgers like confirmed something we basically already knew. He's still not even on the Jets, and they've moved from 16-1 to 14-1. So to Jeff's point, like, you just can't bet them at this level of helium right now, because when this trade actually happens, they'll still probably move to like 12-1 or 11-1. Like, it's crazy what is moving these lines right now, because I think we've already reached a point where the Jets and Rodgers, that whole trade has already been factored in to get them down to 16 or 14-1.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
All right. So obviously with Rodgers potentially under center here, the prediction for the Jets in 2023, it looks much different than it did with Zach Wilson. We're talking though, like the 6th toughest schedule in the league next year. Dudes, they're going to have the Chiefs at home. They'll have the Chargers at home. They'll have the Eagles at home, and then they're going to be on the road at teams like the Cowboys and the Broncos and the Raiders. Like, that's not an easy schedule to come into if you're Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, Garion. Not to mention their entire division.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I just think, to my point before, like, I haven't looked at the list yet, but I would assume that a majority of the hardest schedules in the league are in the AFC, and a majority of the easiest schedules in the league are in the NFC. And that's just the way it's going to work. So I think it really is like most AFC teams, aside from like the Jaguars. I guess you could kind of put like maybe the Chiefs into that bucket too, just because they like get to play the Raiders and the Broncos a bunch.
Yeah.
But I just have a feeling AFC teams in general, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, and AFC East, by the way, just to your point, all 4 of the AFC East teams have schedules that project to be among the 7 toughest in the league next year.
Yeah.
So the division alone is going to be ridiculous.
Schedule toughness, in my opinion, is a little bit overrated too.
Yes, you say that every year.
You're dragging in all the metrics from last year, and injuries happen, coaching changes happen. Like last year, everyone probably looked at the map and like, oh my God, you got to go to Denver and play the Broncos? That's ridiculously tough. And it wasn't really.
With Russell Wilson.
So, like we just don't know, and injuries can happen. I mean, Mahomes could get hurt the first week, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, good. Like Kansas City's on schedule. So yeah, it's tough. And it definitely, I'm not saying it's not going to be tough, but it's going to be tough for all the AFCs. They're going to have to play each other a bunch, and have to see how things shake out, obviously, with, Miami and even New England. I mean, New England, I guess, I think roll.
I know. I'm glad you brought them up though, Jeff, because I was going to ask you guys, like, what other moves have kind of stood out to you today and over this past week? I know Zeke was released, and then, we were all talking in our Slack channel here. Juju signing for what, 3 years, $33 million with the Pats, Jeff. I mean, he's like Mr. TikTok guy. I have no idea why they did not just decide to keep Jacoby Myers there, who like TP on the 1s and 2s behind the scenes there. It's like, dude, the guy knows the system. Mac Jones loved him. He was reliable as hell there. Like, what is up? What are they thinking?
Does he know the system? He's just clearly better. His contested catch rate is like top 10 in the league. He's not a flashy athletic guy, but he makes plays. He's a very good route runner. He knows the system, as you said, and he's got like his metrics improved in a lot of areas. He mainly, again, like things like contested catch rate. But Juju is, I almost want to say, is like the opposite. Maybe he's got a little bit more like top end athleticism, but he's not what I would call a very sharp route runner. At least I don't think he is. He's not good at making contested catches, and you kind of saw it last year. I mean, if you walked into that offense with no Tyreek Hill and you can't demand the ball like over 8 times a game, I think that's like a huge red flag, in my opinion. So I just hate this signing so much. I would have rather they traded for DeAndre Hopkins. I would have rather they did pretty much anything than what they did with signing Juju Smith-Schuster. And it's just another reason for me to not like the Patriots next year. I think that this doesn't help anybody. I don't think it helps Mac Jones. I don't think it helps Ramondre Stevenson get lanes. And he's just bad.
It helps your Dolphins, Gary.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots' recent history with free agency and wide receivers has not exactly been great.
Hell, even drafting.
Also that. Although, I still do like Tyquan Thornton. Like, I think he's got an opportunity to be good. And at least he's like brings an element of speed to their receiving room that, like Jeff said, I don't think anyone looked at Jacoby Myers and was like, wow, that guy's a burner. He's like the most athletic guy I've ever seen. He really was more of a throw it up, contested catch kind of guy. And there was a redundancy, I think, even with him and with Kendrick Bourne and with Devontae Parker all on the same roster, because they really are all very similar types of wide receivers. But of those guys, the one you want to keep in a vacuum is obviously Jacoby Myers. And I think he even tweeted out, because it's the exact same numbers. It's the exact same dollar figures. He tweeted out like, damn, it's a cold world. And like, look, we can like make all the jokes we want that Jacoby Myers actually signed with the Raiders like last season in week 16. And that's why he made that play. But just keep that guy. I don't understand. And I'm with Jeff. Like, look, I think Juju's still a lot younger than I often think. But part of the reason that I have to remind myself that is he just hasn't looked nearly as explosive.
He plays like a 34-year-old and he's like 24. Mm-hmm. That's why. Yeah. No.
And it's just another slow, big-bodied wide receiver that I don't think can get open and can run routes overly well for the Patriots. I just don't see this helping them all that much.
Let's give a little shout out to the Raiders too. I actually like the moves they made. You know, Darren Waller, they have a guy in like Foster Moreau as a decent backup. They could potentially grab a tight end. And I think Jacoby Myers was a pretty solid signing. I thought he was easily the most solid wide receiver available. Mm-hmm. I think it helps Garoppolo. I actually don't. It's weird. I don't mind what the Raiders have done so far. I'd really like to see if they could maybe get like Will Levis or Richardson and maybe really solidify their future. I think that's what they need to do. They need to take a longer term view. But I like the Raiders have done from that perspective. Even if you don't like the Waller trade, I think it was time to move on for them.
And I bet they draft a tight end too. Like this is really one of the most stacked and deepest tight end classes we've had in the draft in some time. Like it would be shocking if they got through round 2 or round 3 without picking up one of these guys. So, you know, there are ways, you know, we all liked Darren Waller. We talked about it, but if you didn't like him at that money, there are ways to get younger. There are ways to get cheaper, and they can definitely do that in the draft.
Darren Waller could easily be falling off a cliff.
Right now. And he got his money last year. And it's funny how sometimes guys close to 30, you get the money, and next thing you know, boom, which is why teams don't like to do that.
Kenny Golladay.
Oh God, that made him the worst freaking contract ever.
You went from being like, oh yeah, like Kenny Golladay is like wide receiver 2. You can like draft in the high rounds to just dust.
His nickname was literally Babytron. Like we were comparing him to one of the greatest receivers of the last 20 years. Like I know part of that was just the team he played for, but my God, the drop off has been nuts.
Got about a handful of minutes to go before our next Madden Sim arrives. That'll be Cleveland at Jeff's favorite team, the Patriots. Ulrich, go to the Valspar here real quick and give me your top 2 favorite bets for this tournament, the final leg of the Florida Swing, which you made a comment earlier. We're kind of all just looking ahead to Augusta right now, which Scotty Scheffler's Champions dinner menu looks delicious. Very Chili's to go-esque, Garion.
Just Chili's.
Great menu. Great menu.
It really is a good menu. He's a man of the people, dude.
It's pretty solid. It's true. I don't want to go there and eat like something I've never heard of before. You know, like escargot or something.
Yeah, or octopus. Like, no, I'm out on that.
Sliders. Give me like steak, sure.
And it's all high quality. It's like I bet it's like Wagyu beef sliders.
What's the thing? People are like all up in arms that it's like, oh, it's Augusta. It's got to be classier. It's like, dude, everyone freaks out every year about these like pimento cheese sandwiches that are literally just 2 pieces of white bread and some cheese. Like,
those are 99 cents.
It's like Tiger Woods had McDonald's the first year he won or something, didn't he? I can't even
remember. Yeah. He brought in the good stuff, dude.
Yeah. Anyways,
good stuff. All right,
look,
what do you got?
This tournament it's going to be a little wild because there's a lot of wind forecasted. They've grown the rough up this year. I think the winning score could be like legitimately 5 under par. So I do like Tommy Fleetwood a lot. His number has dropped. I really don't like him at 22. If you had got him earlier in the week at 28, I think that's fine. I do like Davis Riley this week at 45. That's a good number in my opinion. Really strong putter, very similar to Sam Burns in that regard. Strong off the tee, has been hitting it better. Missed the cut last week, but if you look at the winners at Valspar, which is almost always played right after the players, Casey missed the cut. Sam Burns missed the cut here 1 year he won. I'm pretty sure he certainly didn't do well this event last year right before he won. There's a couple other things like that. So I'm not worried about that. I like Davis Riley. And then if you're going to chase kind of a long shot play, more of like a top 20, top 40 bet. Trey Mullenix plus 9,000, plus 800 for a top 10. Mullenix just talented. He's got a good short game. He didn't make the cut last week either, which I kind of like. He's top 10 this event before. He's just underrated in the odds. I mean, you look at Mullenix, you got Robbie Shelton, Tyler Dunk. Like, he's a way better player than these guys. So I think that's good value there as a long shot.
All right, Gare Bear, you got a basketball player too you want to dish out over in DFS?
Yeah. Really interesting 7-game slate tonight. There's a couple big name guys sitting. There's a couple teams that at this point in the year have just completely thrown in the towel. Like whatever San Antonio is doing, it's almost revolutionizing tanking, because they're not just like sitting all their guys each night. They basically have like an A team and a B team, and the A team will play one game and then they'll sit the next game and the B team will come in. It's like hilarious. But basically there are two teams tonight that just straight up do not have any centers left. And that's the Los Angeles Lakers, because you've got no Anthony Davis, no Mo Bamba. I mean, LeBron's not really a center, but he can play it in a pinch. He's not playing either. So I think you're in a situation where like Wenyen Gabriel, who's under 4K, could play a lot of minutes tonight. I think Rui Hachimura is probably going to be the guy who starts at center, quote unquote. Because again, it's Houston. You can kind of get away with not using a real center if there is a team to do that against in the NBA. But I think Hachimura is probably the guy with the biggest upside on the Lakers, who's less than 5K tonight. So I would be heavily invested in him. I also think when it comes to San Antonio, you've got two options at like 3-1 and 3,000. Gorgie Jang might actually start this game for the Spurs tonight, because
that's
again,
a name I have not heard for
I
been a
love
long
you,
time.
Darren.
But like Zach Collins isn't playing. You've got a bunch of guys not playing in this contest. I'm not even going to attempt to say this guy's last name. I know his first name is Sandro Mamushvili, I believe, who was on the Bucks.
Nakavelia?
Yeah.
Stop it.
But he played like 20 minutes in their last game, and he's probably going to start at center tonight. If anyone's starting at center for about 3,000, like most centers who start can average about a DraftKings point per minute. So it could be an amazing value play. It's Mamushvili, I believe.
Mamushvili. There you go.
Dude, yeah. I was just gonna, yep.
Yep, that's how you say it. And then to all those savings you can pay up. And I think my favorite guy to pay up for tonight would be Kawhi Leonard, who is still being priced like before the All-Star break Kawhi Leonard, where he wasn't playing his full allotment of minutes. He wasn't really looking like Kawhi Leonard. Leonard, the last month or so, has been playing 38, 40 minutes a game. And if he's going to be doing that at well under $10,000, especially in a game between the Clippers and Golden State that I believe has the highest projected total on this slate, or one of the highest projected totals on this slate, I think Kawhi's in a great spot tonight.
What are the Clippers
futures
odds?
What? Say it.
Yes, for Garion. Where are the Clippers in the futures?
I think they're still like plus 800, plus 7. Oh, plus 13.
Plus 13.
Plus 1,300.
Well, I guess the Suns kind of jumping up the standings hasn't helped. Steph coming back did make the Warriors odds go from like 16 to 1 to 12 to 1. And the Clippers haven't looked amazing. I know there's a lot of Clippers fans are not happy with Ty Lue right now, which is funny because it seemed like everyone loved Ty Lue less than a year ago.
This happens everywhere he goes.
Yes. I still think like the Clippers to me just don't have enough cohesion as a team. It's been nice that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard have played as much as they have over this last little stretch, but any team that thinks they needed Russell Westbrook is not a team that thinks they can win the championship. That's just the way I look at it. And Westbrook's playing way too many minutes for this team. They were much better when Terrence Mann was starting, and the stats bear that out. I just still don't understand that move.
All right, dudes, you two were both fantastic. And it puts me in a very good mood when I am with both of you. It also puts me in a good mood that it's still sunny here now after the time change. Like, man, this is a great day. Sun is shining, blue skies. I'm going to go walk my dogs, even though they're like 40-mile-an-hour winds here today. Thank you both for being here. Gary, and thanks for filling in for Fryer. I would actually love you to be a permanent fixture on Wednesdays, but I know you're a busy dude up there in the 6. Anywho, thanks, TP. Thanks, producer Eamon. Thank you, Jeff. Hey Jeff, congrats too on your dog on your dog Pepper. She went on her first like off leash run. I saw that on her
Yes,
Instagram
it's true.
account.
She came back, so my wife was very cool.
Still have her. All right, guys. Thanks so much. What do we have? The Browns and the Patriots coming up next in the land of Madden. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow morning on The Sweat, 11 a.m. Eastern time.